Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I want to talk to you about 3D scanning and 3D printing for traditional sculptors. Now, I've done this before. I've shown you how I 3D scan things, the equipment I use, and the 3D printer. This is my latest 3D print. As you notice, that's the Mystic Seer that I just finished on the channel, sculpting out of plasticine clay. Normally, you need to get a mold made, you need to get a mother mold and then cast it. That takes up a lot of space in your house. It's also a messy process. 3D scanning is the way to go. I made a little replica. I am very happy with it. And I'm going to show you some of the key benefits of 3D scanning and printing for artists. So the number one thing is preservation and documentation. As an artist, it's always nice to have a record of all the things that you've done. And the beauty of 3D scanning and 3D printing, you could always have a copy in your records of all the original works that you have done, even if you sold them or destroyed them. Number two, replication and additions. You might not realize, but Rodin, for example, he made most of his money selling editions, replications of the Kiss and all his sculptures. He made many of those and he monetized that. So as a sculptor, you can absolutely make editions of, say, this. If you wanted to sell this and you decided, I am going to make 100 of these and then sell them as an edition. So it might not be very valuable, for a simple example, for people to print this. It might be a couple of cents. But if the artist prints it, signs it, and makes a record that they made 100 editions of this, those are still the original artworks. There's a famous quote by Carpeaux, and Carpeaux said that sculpture is such a noble art form, but it's also the art form that you're mostly likely to die of hunger from. Number three, scaling and proportion. 3D scans enable easy scaling and resizing of sculptures, allowing sculptors to experiment with different sizes and proportions without the need to start from scratch. If you just look at this, it's tiny. It actually makes more sense as a small head than this size. And the way I designed it was I was going to make it big and then scale it down. Scale it down to the appropriate size because you can get a little bit more detail on something large and then scale it down and it still holds the detail. 3D scanning has gone a long way. But imagine you do a sculpture. This is another one of my prints. Maybe somebody doesn't want a full-size version of this. And you could take a life-size version of a sculpture, bring it down to a better scale, and have it print that way. You use less plastic, but also you can experiment with the different sizes. Number four, restoration and repair. When a sculpture is damaged, a 3D scan can serve as a reference for restoration work, helping sculptors and conservators restore the piece to its original form. Number five, iteration and experimentation. Sculptors can use 3D scans as a starting point for new creative iterations. They can modify the scanned digital version and explore alternative forms of variations without altering the original sculpture. You can take your sculpture like this, scan it in, and modify it in 3D software. Let's say I wanted to give him a bigger smile. You could give him a bigger smile and have it print and see how it looks. Then you can modify your original before you make a mold of it or you 3D scan it again. But for me, one of the awesome things about 3D scanning is that I can, for example, make a version of this, make another version of it, even by molding it myself. If I wanted to give it a bigger smile or change the horns, as I said I was going to be doing with ram's horns, I can do a different version of this, print it, and then post it up online for people to choose from. I can actually even 3D scan the horns separately and have users glue them on as they print. So that's the beauty of 3D scanning and printing that you don't get from traditional sculpture. Number six, collaboration. This sculpture was a collaboration because a subscriber, Mark, gave me the suggestion to do this. And then, of course, I sculpted it, and I have a couple of people that have printed this out. Most notably, there is a YouTube channel that you should subscribe. It's Solid 3D Memories, and he printed this as a car hitch. So this actually is like a car hitch cap, and he sent me the 3D file for that. So in a way, now I have my original and I have a truck car 3D cap. So I'm printing that right now for my Prius. 3D scans can be easily shared with other people such as artists, engineers, designers, making a collaboration and opening up new creative possibilities. I'm going to put in the description below Patrick Solid 3D Memories, and I'll put the link. Subscribe to his channel, like his channel. He prints a lot of stuff and he's got an awesome camera. It's awesome. I love having people print my sculptures and making different versions. I really appreciate that. 7, portability. Digital 3D scans are much easier to transport than physical sculptures, making it simpler to showcase and exhibit artwork at various locations, especially for international or remote exhibitions. This thing weighs close to nothing. If I was to make this in plaster, cement, whatever, it would be much heavier. This is the whole sculpture. I made it out of white plastic. It weighs close to nothing. When I shipped this, it was very expensive to ship to England, to Mark, and it's just amazing. This is the actual size. I can kind of lift it up in one hand. The clay version is heavy. It costs a lot to ship, and it's also extremely sensitive. So you could break the arm, and it's much harder to repair. This, oh my God, I can even ship it in sections because I printed this in sections. So if you have an exhibit in a different part of the world, shipping plastic is much better. It's much cheaper. That's why having this in your collection is it's a no-brainer for a sculptor. Number 8, marketing and sales. High-quality 3D scans can be used for marketing and sales purposes, allowing sculptors to showcase their work to potential buyers or galleries without physically transporting the artwork. Let's say you want to pitch your sculptures to a gallery or to a collection. Well, you can drive there, bring all those heavy marble and clay sculptures, or you can just take like a bunch of these. Hey, this is like a miniature version of the full size. Boom, show it to the gallery owner, and you're in. It just makes absolutely sense to do this as a sculptor. Number 9, educational purposes. 3D scans can be valuable educational tools for art students, providing a digital reference for studying the technique and details of a sculptor's work. Artists and students can learn from old masters just by getting the replicas printed and, say, drawing from them. I have made my Michelangelo eyes, my écorchés, all free because I want artists to be able to learn from them if they can. And I bought these sculptures. The écorché, I paid so much money for it because I thought learning the anatomy from Houdon, who made that sculpture, was extremely valuable. So I scanned it. That was one of the first things I did. I provided it free. It's online on Cold 3D. I'll provide a link in the description. The écorché, for example, is one of the best things you could have in your art studio when you're learning about sculpting, because you can see everything. You can see all the muscles. And of course, you could go online and find versions of Michelangelo's David. You can go online and get some of the greatest sculptures out there. And it makes a valuable tool for art students. Number 10, archiving. It's so much easier to archive your sculptures digitally than it is when you have tons of shelves with artwork. What I like is that I can print this by the date that I created, store it on my computer, and have it as a reference. For me, I lose track of like dates and when I did things. With this, digitally, there's always a breadcrumb. Number 11, accessibility. By converting physical sculptures into digital 3D models, artists can make their work accessible to a wider audience through online platforms and virtual exhibits. Number 12, rapid prototyping. 3D scans can be used to create rapid prototypes and maquettes, helping sculptors refine their design and assess their viability before committing to a larger, more time-consuming sculpture. Most artists, if you go after public commissions, you have to create something that's called a maquette, a small version of the final sculpture. Now, as an artist, you could make an even smaller sculpture. It'll take you less time, and then submit that. You can scan that little maquette, blow it up to the appropriate size, submit that as a physical item. It'll be much easier. Even I've had artists create maquettes and then scale them up for their full size that they're going to be doing, because it saves time. Normally when you do a maquette, it's going to be like, you know, this big, but you can scan it, blow it up in size, and then rework it, so it makes a whole lot more sense. In summary, 3D scanning sculptures can significantly enhance a sculptor's creative process. It can streamline various aspects of their work and open up new opportunities for collaboration, documentation, and dissemination of their art. So I hope this video was beneficial to you. If you did, make sure you hit like, subscribe. I'm trying to get to 20,000 subscribers. That'll be awesome by the end of the year. But I really appreciate you guys watching. I can't believe there's 15,000 subscribers on the channel. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.